Well, I guess we're back to school then. All the kiddos, most of everybody listening now is back at school. Your parents dropped you off. They probably didn't stop the car while they were dropping off, kicking you out of the side door. Why aren't you stopping the car? Daddy loves you. Gotta go. Bye. And they peel out of the parking lot as you're doing a tuck and roll. And they slam into the side of a snooze eatery and they're immediately handed a bucket of mimosas. It's back to school time. We'll go over just a couple of things, little tips and tricks and whatnot to, celebrate the transition to back to school stuff. And, we'll talk about some other stuff. I'll make this pretty quick. For the 9th or 10th time in 2019, my math is not good. Good morning again. DanpodValdres again. Thank you so much for listening. Whether you are on the YouTube website, youtube.com/thedanpodcast, or you are at the Apple Podcasts app, you're listening to audio version only. Again, there's no video on there. It's just me talking because nobody wants to look at my stupid face, and I don't blame you. Thanks for the support. Thanks for all the love, all that fun stuff. Appreciate you all so much. Back to school stuff. This is one of those little speed traps. We'll say that happen during the season. You've done your summer band camp. Great. I'm sure everybody's fantastic. Everybody I talk to is saying that this is the best band that they've ever had. And they're going to have a banner year and they're going to do awesome and all that stuff. Great. Awesome. Do your thing. Whatever helps. Now we're adding another layer to it. Not only do you have to deal with practice, and now you're not going to be practicing as much because people are starting to go under 8-hour rules and whatnot. But now you're adding the school layer. Now you're actually, okay, now we got to go to class and learn how to do trigonometry or whatever. I was decent at math, but anything that involved isn't it weird that they tell you to get away from a calculator so much, and then the hardest stuff has to be done with the calculator, and it should just be as easy as pushing buttons, but I could never do it. I was such an idiot. And here I am imparting marching band advice to you all, so I guess everything worked out. So now we get the whole school layer on, and it's not just the academic stuff either. It's a lot of distractions, a lot of social distractions. So there is a little bit of marching band programs experience a little bit of a drop as school starts. Just because, especially for the younger people, like, I'm just trying to find my class. And now you want me to, oh, by the way, after you're all done, or before, depending on whether you have rehearsals in the morning or the evening. Personally, I prefer the evening rehearsals. But I'm just trying to find my class. And then after I get all done with this and, trying to figure out where I'm going during the school day, then I got to, go get changed and go out into the field in the 100-degree weather and try to perform like a rock star on an asphalt field or a parking lot or whatever. It's difficult. So, yes, there's going to be a little bit of a drop-off when school starts just because there's just so many other distractions. There's so many other things to think about. It's very difficult to focus on what's going on the field. This is one of those times, and I've talked about this before. I don't think this is the most difficult part of the season. I really don't think it's the most difficult part of the season. I think it's the middle of the season is the most difficult part of the season. We're going to get to that, and we'll get to that later on. Probably not today, but later, like in a couple of weeks or whatever, when contests start going on. Because I have a whole theory on that. So this is the time when it is really important to string together a series of solid rehearsals. Rehearsal technique is not very well talked about. People want to talk about who designed your show. They want to talk about how loud you are. And by the way, I hate using the word loud when talking about a marching band program. Because to me, that doesn't convey quality. Not necessarily. You can be loud, but if you're not in tune, what's the point? If you want to be a college band, go be a college band, but, we'll get into that later. It's a difficult transition. So, momentum is key. Rehearsal technique is key. Good rehearsals. Everybody's going through the same thing. More or less, people are starting school around the same time, whether it's a week, beforehand or a week after, whatever. So the programs that can manage and minimize those distractions on the field will get a little bit more of a leg up than those that can't. I've seen it happen before where, the kids are completely scatterbrained and, they're just trying to get they're trying to get a grasp of the new year. Whether it doesn't matter whether you're a freshman or you're a senior and you start like, oh, I got one more year and then I get to go to, wherever. Very important for rehearsal technique. Making sure everybody's on task, making sure people are still practicing, and that's another thing that goes down by the wayside. Kids stop practicing their horn once they start, once school starts, because, you're trying to manage their time. Trying to, okay, I get this homework, then I got to practice for 30 minutes. Well, something's got to go by the wayside. I can't not do my homework, so usually the instrument falls by the wayside. Again, trying to get everything back, trying to recreate the summer band experience as much as possible. Now, of course, that's not entirely possible just because of the sheer hours you put in during summer band camp. But the programs that can emulate that as close as possible, those are the ones that you're going to see in the early season really start to shine. And then it becomes an even bigger challenge of trying to keep that momentum and grow and keep that snowballing for the rest of the season. God, I remember back to school stuff. It was crazy. And it wasn't entirely crazy. I would say my experience was, I would say it's pretty normal. It was, I know that just contradicted myself, but I don't care. It's early in the morning. It's just about taking your time. Everything seems like it's going super, super fast, even if you've been there doing this 3 or 4 years. The important thing is to take your time. And then, I always looked at the marching band field, the practice field, as a sanctuary. And I mean that wholeheartedly. What I mean by that is, if I was not necessarily struggling in school, but if I was having, if school was getting me down, or home life was getting me down, or if my parents were getting on my case about stuff and I didn't think it was warranted, and, if I just felt kind of blue, the marching band field was the place where I could kind of not necessarily relax, but I was like, okay, I really, 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 really enjoy doing this. And I'm outside, and yeah, it's hot, but, I'm hanging around with a bunch of my friends. We're working on a common goal. I get to play my horn, or for the last 2 years of my high school career, I get to stand up on a podium and wave my arms around like a fool. I treated it like a sanctuary, and that helped me work harder at it because it was, like I said, it was something I really, really enjoyed. As you're on the marching field, as you're doing your practices, see if you can kind of find that sweet spot there of, yes, we're going to work hard, but at the same time, I'm really enjoying what I'm doing. People think that you have to do one or the other. You have to you have to have 100% fun, or you have to have 100% work. Well, you can do both. It's possible to do both. And it is a balancing act, because you go one way or the other, you go one way or the other, too far or too left, or whatever, and it can kind of screw with your concentration. And then you start making mistakes on the field, and then, and then nobody's having a good time. Anyways, I just wanted to just chime in and say, hey, welcome back to school, everybody. I hope you all have fun. I hope you all are safe. I hope your schedules are good. The parents, I'm sure I'm sure you're glad to have the kids out of the house for the next, during the week or whatever. But guess what? Football season's coming. Football season is coming, and there's not a damn thing you can do about it. It's going to be great. I will talk to you all next week. I have a couple of plans. I have a couple of things planned in the very near future, and I can't wait to let you guys know. I owe a specific band program. I owe them a little, how should I say this? not necessarily an apology, but I'm planning on doing something special for a specific program, and I'll explain that probably next week. I am out of here. I will talk to you all very, very, very soon, and thank you all so much for listening. Take care. Adios. Bye-bye.